And I see a few new names, which is good. Maybe some people weren't with us last week. I'll recap just a little bit. Last week, we did go through the process of downloading the template and putting the template in place, and we covered a few other things. I'm going to remember to share my screen. If you were not able to join us last week, on Module 1 in the ELEX training covers everything that we discussed. And we even have a question and answer area here where you can post any questions you might have, and your trusted Canvas experts will do our best to give you good answers to your questions here. And I did post a page for the recordings of the 2 meetings that we did last week. So I wouldn't recommend watching them both. That'd probably get boring because we covered the same things twice. But there was the 9 o'clock and the 3 o'clock. I will be doing the same thing for the meetings that we do today. So today, what we'd like to do in the next hour is we'd like to talk about the last parts of configuring what's in the template, what's going to require your interaction, and how you will build the rest of your course going forward using the template as your guide. We're going to look at some of the techniques and tricks that we can use modules for in order to organize content and release the content to students in a way, and when we're ready to release that content. We're going to look at the different techniques for sharing files, sharing URLs, links to blogs, sharing videos, YouTube videos, techniques for maybe creating new pages when we want to add more of our own pages. So it's really more of a content focus today. And then just kind of a recap on how we control what the students see and when they see it. Aside from that, I know there's going to be a lot of questions about assessment. We want to dive in and get into creating assignments and creating quizzes and things like that. We're going to dedicate the full time to just that next Monday. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I have the ELEX training open, and I also have my copy of the course template open that I've been working in. Okay, so before I jump right in, any questions, or anybody have any trouble with the last week or the template? I think hopefully that was pretty self-explanatory. We're all able to download it from the Commons and put it in place. We should be good going forward. Okay, and Sam is my trusty colleague here. Sam, it's a hard CH, right? Is it Backert? Is that any?
Backert, like, oh man, my back hurts.
Okay, oh boy, you've said that before. So, Sam's only recently been on my team, so I'm still mastering the nuances of the.
That's right.
It's
only been a week. So. But okay. I am here to help answer questions. So if you post them in chat, while Martin's going through that, Marty, yep. I'll try to address that as best I can.
Appreciate it. Okay, so presenting content to students. We're going to go ahead. Let's just jump right away into configuring the other pages that are in the template. So we got our syllabus, we got our home page, and now this is what we're confronted with is all of these modules that are set up for us. So the first module is called Instructor Module Do Not Publish. So we don't want to publish that module. That is there for your benefit. Those are the pages that give you reminders, guidance, things that may be specific to this Canvas instance or to Naropa. Like, for example, we've got some cool banners and we've got some buttons and things that we can copy and use in other areas in the course if you ever want to use these icons. And there's some standard Canvas videos and ways that you can obtain support if you need support. All right. I don't know if that's right. It said, the support page said contact the help desk by emailing sample@email.com. I don't think that's the right name and number for your help desk, so I might have to get that from Yurka and get the right name and number in your template. The second module is a resource module for students. So this one we do want to have published, and this one you don't need to do anything with. You can just leave this there in your course. The students have some getting started videos and content to help them out if this is their first time using Canvas. So we'll also leave that module alone. And then the third module, by the time you start, is welcome, begin here. This is the first module that's specific to your course, and so it's the first one where you're going to jump in and sort of edit this module as you need. Now, one trick that I'll show you, if you get tired of scrolling up and down and past all of these other modules and you're not using them right now, use the little triangle next to the name of the module, and you can minimize that module so you don't have to scroll through it every single time.
What happened?
So I'm going to go ahead and let's see, find my participants and just do a quick mute all. You can unmute if you need to talk. There we go. So the first module we're going to set up is the begin here, and we have a default page for course overview. So if I click on edit to edit this page, we see we have about, name of class. We have some prompts for your course code, your course title, your credit hours, and information that could be duplicated to from your syllabus, right? You can really just copy some of this information and put it here as a quick reference for students. I'm going to use this page as a first opportunity for us to talk about accessibility and using the Canvas accessibility checker to make sure that what we're putting into Canvas is easily accessible to somebody using a screen reader. Canvas's accessibility checker is not a catch-all. It doesn't make everything perfect. And honestly, sometimes it identifies things that really are not an issue, but that's where we have to use our judgment when we come across them. So if you're not familiar with it, at the bottom of your window, of your edit window, you have a little person standing in a circle, and it says accessibility checker. And right now, if I press it, it checks through what I've put in this page, and it says, congratulations, no accessibility issues were detected. So what are the kinds of accessibility issues that it might find that would alert you that you might have something wrong? One would be font color. If I have a yellow font on a white background, that's not going to be enough contrast. Canvas will catch that and it'll say, yeah, you might want to change one of the colors. It's going to catch pictures that don't have an alt tag to identify them, or that have a poor alt tag perhaps. And one more thing that it's going to catch that we can look at right now is the correct use of headers in the fonts that we're using in a page. So you may have noticed that when you're at the top of the Canvas editor, just like when you're in a Word document, you actually have a menu and you can choose heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, or paragraph. Those headings are not just for visual cues, although they do act as visual cues to your readers that, oh, this is a major title, some text. Oh, this is a secondary title, and then some text. They actually also act as an alert to someone using a screen reader, because a screen reader responds to those headers because it grabs its attention too. So a screen reader is going to tell someone, this is a major heading. Now we read this, now we read this, now we read this. This is a second level heading, or a heading that's just below the major heading. This is another second level heading. So it sort of gives them the hierarchy so that when they're following as a screen reader, they have the same conceptual breaks that someone who's sighted would have by using that. So when we build a page or we're working with a page in Canvas, we just want to be mindful of how we use those headings in a hierarchical way to organize content. Now I'm going to show you an example of breaking the rules. So this is heading 2. That's the highest level heading that we can make. And then down here, the next level, this is a subheading. So this one is designated as heading 3. We went from heading 2 to heading 3. What if I skip heading 3 And what if I make that, well, I want that one to be heading 4. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to bypass headings in the hierarchy because that can be confusing. So now, if I run my accessibility checker, it's actually going to catch that. And it's going to say, oh, hang on a second. You skipped a heading level. You went from heading level 4 or 2 to heading level 4. Do you want to just leave that? Or do you want to fix that hierarchy or just remove the heading altogether? I'll fix that. Apply. And I now passed accessibility and my headings are all making sense. So the reason for that is, you might want to use bold. Well, what if I use bold? Doesn't that work? Well, a screen reader doesn't necessarily see a difference between the bold paragraph text and regular paragraph text. So that's why we actually use the headings. So that'll be the first page that you're going to put together for your students, is your course overview. And then we're going to go to the, there it is, the About Your Instructor page. Now you have a picture of I think a default instructor in your page, and you might want to probably replace that with your own picture. So we're just going to go through really quickly what we do or how we add that picture in. If there's a picture of an instructor there and that instructor is not you, delete that instructor. And let's assume that you have a picture of yourself somewhere on your computer because you take lots of selfies and you save them and you put them on Facebook and Instagram and everything. So you're going to upload one of those selfies from your computer. Upload image. I actually keep a folder just of my pictures of my selfies so that when I need a picture of me, I've got one ready depending on whatever the context might be. I will grab the one that I was just using. That's this one here. That's me. Oh my goodness, and it ends up huge because it was a large picture file. Nobody wants to see that. So we will click on it. And when we click on it, we get the blue corners that we can drag and we get some options. So let me drag that up. And let's make that a reasonable size so we don't scare any of our students. So now I have my picture here. I would like you to see what happens when I run the accessibility checker now. It flags my picture. It says we have a problem. The problem with this picture is the alt tag is the name of the picture, and the name of the picture was 154674117.jpg. Okay, so somebody with a screen reader is going to be going across the screen. It's going to hit the picture, and their screen reader is going to say 1546741710992-1.jpeg. And that's not very helpful to someone. And what in the world was that all about? So what we either want, we got two choices that we can do with this picture. Choice one, we can put in a description. That's the alt text or the alternate text that a screen reader will see. Or we can mark it as a decorative picture, meaning it's just a decoration and it doesn't convey any meaning to the student, so the screen reader ignores it altogether. Because this is just a picture of me, marking it as decorative is perfectly fine. They don't need to know that they're missing a picture of me. If I want to choose to put in an alt tag, I might put in something like handsome, rugged, middle-aged Professor LeGros, so they know what they're missing out on, right? That's the alt tag. I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do that to a student. Okay. So the other option, as I mentioned, was to make it decorative. I will click on this picture, and under the options, so you notice when I click on the picture, I get this little options dialog. One of the options is decorative image. If I click on that, I have just made it invisible to screen readers. They won't know it's there. They'll just go right over it. Piece of cake, no problem. And it will now pass accessibility. So if I do the accessibility checker now, oh, it still says it doesn't like that I have that. Should be recognizing that I've marked it as decorative. Let's see if I Should be. All right, well, I'll just give it an alt tag. Oh, there it is. Now it's there. Now it's there. Decorative image. There we go. Apply. Good. Okay, fill out the rest of your information. Give them your name. Give them a mini biography. Let them know what your expertise is, your background in the field that you're teaching, and then throw them a little bit of personal information. Nothing that they're going to cyber stalk you, but enough to let them know that you have a personality, and maybe you have a cat, and maybe you like to go, you know, hiking out in Lyons or whatever it is, just so they know that you're an actual real person too. Any other contact information you'd like to share can also go on this page. Okay, the third item is your source, online source book. And this, I let Mary describe a little bit this morning, because this is not necessarily where you're going to put the required textbook or the readings for the course, but it's going to actually be where you put specific source book information from online e-resources. And I don't know if Mary wants to just kind of chime in, because I'm not explaining it very well again.
It's just a holdover from the e-learning platform that we used to use, where we had an online source book in there, and a lot of faculty use that as a
Okay.
library that the students can then look at every reading that's in the course. And it's not necessary, but it is still something that potentially our students might like to have. So I guess that's what I would say about it right now. I like to use it because I like people to see everything, but everyone has a different approach to that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So if you are not using that page, that might be something where you just click the check arrow and just unpublish it if you're not going to use it, so it doesn't show up and students don't wonder what it is. And then the last item is the community Q&A. Now, right now, there's really no description here, but this is a discussion forum. So this is somewhere where students are going to be able to post and reply, and you can read their posts, and their classmates can read their posts, and everybody can reply. So I always, when I'm teaching online, try to create something engaging or different. I try to gather a little bit of information from students. Try to stay away from kind of the same things that maybe we don't all want to ask students. So why are you taking this course? You know, it's ask them what their interest in the field is, maybe, or you know, what brought them here. I sometimes I'll even just Google, you know, just looking for ideas like different discussion prompts, just to make sure I've got something interesting and engaging for them. And what we're going to say in this forum is, you know, what do you want to know? You know, tell me about this, or ask questions. And remind them maybe that this is a public forum and it's a great place to ask questions that other people might also have. So don't ask your private questions, those you can email to me. And then there's a few settings or options that we have for a discussion forum. The first option, and it's already checked, but so you know when you're creating discussions later, is to allow threaded replies. What a threaded reply means is if somebody writes a comment and somebody replies to them, the replies stay under the comment that they went with. So if you look at our group chat, that's more of a stream of consciousness, right? Everything shows up in the order that it came in. If you don't have threaded replies, that's what you're going to have, is a discussion forum that's just kind of goes in the chronological order that they came in. I've personally always used the threaded. And then for this kind of a forum where it's just a general, you know, chat or conversation, I like to say allow liking. So it has sort of a Facebook feel to it. Somebody can say something and somebody else can come up and they can like that comment. That's something you can do for fun later on too with your discussion forums in class, is you can allow liking, and then you can even sort the discussion forum by likes so that whoever's comment got the most likes gets up to the top. All right, let's see, can I upload videos as part of the sourcebook module? Let's see. So we can, I don't know about as part of the sourcebook module. So you can put videos or put URLs to videos, and we're going to cover that. And I'm not sure about putting that into the sourcebook. Technically you can, and we'll learn that process today. Okay, so the last thing that we want to make sure that we do with our community forum in your course is subscribe. You do want to make sure that you're subscribed to the forum so that you get a notice when somebody posts there. As an instructor, I always feel bad when I forget that there's a general question forum there and some student posts a question and then 3 weeks go by and I missed it. Like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't answer your question in the forum there. If I subscribe, that way I get those notifications based on how frequently I have my notifications set to alert me. And we talked about that last week. Okay, so that's the welcome module. If you, can we create separate discussion threads for each week in the term? Yes, you can. You can create as many discussion forums and discussion threads as you would like to do. Absolutely. Next week, we'll cover in depth discussions, quizzes, and assignments. I love creating discussion forums more than I love creating pages because pages are static. They're one-way communication. They're me talking to the student. Discussion forums give a chance for interaction. So, okay. So that's the welcome. You're not limited to that. If you have something else that you want to share in the welcome area, you absolutely can do that. But that's the starting guide for what we need to post there as a minimum. So after that, and I'm going to delete this because I did this one this morning, we have Module 1. Module 1 is set up for you. That's a framework or a skeleton of Module 1 is set up for you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to flesh out the skeleton with the content that we want the students to see and what they're going to learn from in the course. Let's see. Andrew, I would say that is the question about the course overview. That's up to you. Here's a framework. It's some of the same information that's in the syllabus. I wasn't part of Yurka's, the thought process or the conversation. I can suspect based on what I know about higher education and what I would know about students, and I know that students are not fond of always looking at the syllabus, but sometimes if you give them kind of a Reader's Digest shorter version right here in the course, then that's a better place and a second way to kind of catch them. So my pedagogical training module has a different meaning. On Canvas, does module mean week 1? That's why I've organized my course site in the past. Good question. So in Canvas, we use the term module in this case, the way this is set up, yes, it sort of does represent week. If module means something different pedagogically and can cause confusion for your students, then you can play around with the terminology. You might want to keep the same structure, but instead of calling this one module 1 title or theme here, we might want to edit that and we might want to call it week 1 and then topic that you're going to cover in week 1, if that makes sense. And since I did this morning, I'm going to delete that and we'll cover that later. Yes. So, because what we want to remember at the end of the day, of course, is this is student focused and we need it to work for students. Calling it week is the way to make it less confusing for you. For students, call it week. Okay, so module 1 or week 1, we have 3 URLs, not URLs, 3 text headers: engage, explore, expand. Those were built in for you. Text header is simply a title for organizational purposes. Students can't click on it. It doesn't do anything. It's just purely organization. And then there are 3 pages that are put in place for you. 1 under engage, 1 under explore, 1 under expand. The first page under engage has a place for you to put an overview. This week or this module, we're going to I know that there's a little bit more text. There's some default lorem ipsum fake text in place there on yours. You delete that out. You put in the text that you would like for the students to know about what they're going to be doing in this module. Okay, that's here. Then we have also a to-do list. And this to-do list has, here, let's see, has a listing of everything that they're going to do within that module or week. I wouldn't do this list until I was done with the module. I would finish the module, making it, then go back and say on the list what is going to be done here. And one thing that I showed this morning, and that's why it has this here, was that we can actually link directly to what's in the module here if we want. So I can select this text, and then I can use my chain links here and choose a course link, and I could link that to my presentation page. So if I choose that, it's now linked. But remember, if you were here last week, you might recall that I said, if you change the name of that page later on, it's going to break this link. That page is called presentation title here. So I know I'm going to be changing the name of that page later. So you might want to wait if you're going to set links and set them last. Okay, let's see. Just quick hit my accessibility checker says I'm good. Good to go. Save. And let's take a look at the next thing. Next we have Explore. Presentation, title here. Okay, so let's talk about the best way to present documents, the best way to present videos, the best way to present links to students, because there are multiple ways that it can be done. And I'm going to go through each one. Let's start with a file. Let's say that I have an article and it's a PDF and I want students to read that article. And it's on my computer. One method of sharing that is to share it by adding it directly to the module. Anytime you want to add to the module, you just click on your plus on the top right of the module, choose what you're going to add, in this case, a file. If it's on my computer, I'll say new file, choose from my documents, and here I'll just grab my SWOT analysis of globalization and Adventist higher education, add, and this file is now linked. And I can drag it and place it where I want to place it in my module. Okay, so a couple of things about doing this. One, I have used the indent feature to indent other things on this module, and this one is not indented because I did not choose to do that. So I will go to my magic domino and I will increase the indent. Two, the name of that is not really very visually appealing to me, the way that it appears. So I am going to edit that name. So I can go to my magic domino and edit. And I want to take away this -1.pdf. I could go through and remove those dashes so that it looks more, user-friendly, and then update the name. 3, and probably my biggest issue with doing it this way, is that there's no context, right? The student doesn't have any context as to why that article is there unless I email them or write somewhere else, please read this article and look for this. So that's why I rather choose to put a PDF inside a page. So if this is my presentation page, I'm going to edit this page. First, I'm going to take all of this default text out that Jirka, has so graciously given us as a guide. Okay, in this module or week, start by reading this article and look for Okay, so now we're contextualizing the article or the PDF. We're giving them a purpose and letting them know why they're going to read it. And that's what I can't really do when I put it in the modules. So I can actually add that here by using my file link and upload that document. So I here have the same link. I can edit that the same way, but we're giving them context around it. So either way is valid. Choose what works for you. That's just the two different ways to add that in. And now when we now when we save this page, this shows up as a link that the student can click, and it's going to download the PDF to their computer. Now, in the modules, it works differently. In the modules, if you click on it, oh, I just went the wrong course. It's not going to open it just that, or download it just that way. What it's going to do is it's actually going to give you the PDF in context of Canvas. They still can download it. They still have that option. So that might be, I guess, just the one difference to know about. Okay, let's talk about video. What if we want to share a YouTube video? Okay. So I think that my students need to know all about the top 20 guitar solo outros of all time. So here's a video that I want to share with them. This is important stuff. All right. You can copy the URL from the top of the page. YouTube videos have a share button underneath that provide us with a number of other share options. So I'm going to copy this URL, or just click copy. One thing that I can do is I can add that right in, jump back on my course here, right into my module. So similar to what I did before, I'm going to add an external URL, and I'll give it a name. Top 20 guitar solos. Maybe choose to load it in a new tab. Make sure I indent it. So here's the video. And I got to make sure I publish. There, now I published it. Now students have that link to the top 20 guitar solos. It's going to open in a new window if I choose to. One thing to point out, and I think that this is a pretty nice feature on YouTube, is that anytime that you share a video, you can actually choose at what point you want the video to start. So if it's an hour-long video and you just want to watch them like 5 minutes of it that's halfway through, find where that point is in the video that you want to share. So let's say I want to share that starting at this part at the 8-minute mark. When I hit share, I can choose this checkbox to start at, and it changes the URL. I can say, have it start at whatever point in time I want, start at the 10-minute mark, and it changes the URL. So now it's going to start just where I want it to instead of making the students find their way all the way through the beginning. Okay, I'll show you a better way, I think, my opinion. Let's go back to the presentation page. If you've ever pasted a URL for a YouTube video in Canvas, give them context, and I paste the URL, this pops up. This little YouTube thing, it says this link will be replaced with an embedded YouTube video. So how does that look to the student? Looks like this. Okay, all right, I can minimize the video, I can make it full size. It shows up with a URL on the page. I'm never a fan of students seeing a URL, just again, and that's an accessibility thing. Because a screen reader, is going to see a URL, and it's going to say https://y-o-u, and they're going to, oh, I don't want to hear all this. So here's how I choose to do it instead of that. So I'm going to delete that. Get rid of this URL. Come on, go away. All right. Go to your share options of the video and choose embed. Now you get code. And that code I'm going to copy. And we're going to go to the scary place. We're going to go to the HTML editor. Oh no, at the bottom of the page we have switch to raw HTML editor. Click on that, and now we're looking at this. Here's the words. Here's where I put watch this video. I will paste after watch this video the code that I just copied. And now I will switch back and check this out. And that looked much nicer. You are now a coder. Okay, you can all demand raises because you are now computer coders. You're not just teachers. Okay, good job. So again, you go to the YouTube video, you look for the share option, you look for the embed code. I also still have the option to start at 8:11. If I want to start it at that point, I can do that. And you just copy that code, and you go to your editor, switch to raw HTML editor, and paste that code in. Piece of cake. Okay, so we've got documents, we've got YouTube videos. Let's talk about a URL, like just a standard website. So let's say if I want to share an educational blog article that I think is important for students to read. Let's see, let's find a good blog. Inside Higher Ed, sure, why not? And let's find an article. Okay, here's an article called Pandemic Hurts Student Mental Health. Let's say I'm going to want to share this with my students. What's the best way to do this? Well, I can take the URL, copy that. Once again, I do have the option in my modules of adding it directly, and adding it as an external URL. And then I just give it a page name, and then Pandemic Hurts Student Mental Health. I always indent it so it's even with my other ones. And then I click to share it there. So again, 2 reasons I don't like this. 1, it's because we don't have context. 2, actually it kind of adds to the scroll of death that you get in the course. I mean, if you add 10 articles and videos every week, when it's like week 7, students are going to be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling if they don't know that they can minimize their previous week's content. So let's embed it instead. Let's go to our page, and let's say down here at the bottom where it says text or link here, maybe this is where I'm going to put that. Okay, so if I paste it, boo, that's bad. Students don't want to see that. It's not friendly looking, and it's certainly difficult for accessibility. All right. So let's delete that out, and let's decide what we're going to call it. Okay. So what we've come to find in higher education, or come to agree on, is that the best practice for identifying a URL is to give it a short name that gives enough context so they understand what it is they're clicking on and what it is they're going to. We avoid using words like click here, click on this, click me, whatever, because those can be redundant to a screen reader, which indicates to them that it's going to be a link. So instead, I'm going to just give this a meaningful name. Read Pandemic Hurts Student Mental Health on Inside Higher Ed. Okay. Read Pandemic Hurts Student Mental Health on Inside Higher Ed. I will select the relevant part of text that I want to hyperlink. That's what I want to be linkable. Pandemic Hurts Student Mental Health. Choose my chain link, external link, and paste what I want that link to go to. That makes a hyperlink, it makes it tidy, it makes it neat. I have seen some crazy pages in my day of higher education that are full of URLs, and they show the whole full URL, and it's just really intimidating and really scary looking and messy and to the student. This gives us a nice context for what they're reading, how they're going to read it. So let's take a look at that now. So now we have our PDF, we have our video, we have our link, pops up in another tab to that reading. Okay? All right. Any questions about organizing or sharing? If I am doing 2 sections of the same class, can I copy everything from one section to the other? If so, how? Great question. I love that question. Yes. The reason that I love that question is this is something that we have to be careful with. Right now, if I take this page and if I copy everything on this page, there really is not going to be an issue because everything that's linked on this page links to something that's out in the public. So I could copy this whole page. To tell you the truth, when I do it, I usually do it with the HTML editor. I usually copy that because then I know I get it exactly the way that it's supposed to be. And then on the other course, I open HTML editor and I paste it in and it works beautifully. The only exception to that is this. If I link to another page in this course, like let's say I'm like, well, I want to link to this page in my course. This page is inside of this course. If I copy all of this and I go to another course and paste it in, when the student in the other course clicks on that page, it's going to try to bring them back to this course. And if the student's not enrolled in this course, it's going to say, you do not have access to this link. So make sure if you're copying a page that you're not copying anything that's specific to this course. Now there's a workaround. And that workaround would be, and to answer your question, yes, you can copy info from one term to another term, okay? The other solution would be to actually import something from one course to another course. I was actually a little ahead of schedule, so I know I can take a minute to do this really quickly. If you open your settings of your course, let's say you're in the course, the new one, you're in the new course, okay? And you want to get something from an old course, what you would do is you'd go to your new course settings and you would import course content. You can choose to copy a Canvas course, pick which course you taught before that you want to copy from. And then you either choose, that's probably telling me that's the course I'm in and that's why it's not gonna let me do it. Oh, I'll just do this. I'll just grab something generic. There. So I could choose all content, which is gonna copy everything over, or I could say, well, I just want certain things. I just want a few pages. I just want a quiz. I want whatever else. Select specific content. And then when I hit import, I go to select content and it'll give me a list of everything in that course. And it'll say, what do you want to import? Take what you want. There'll be lists of assignments, lists of pages, lists of modules. So that's the quick and dirty answer to that question. Okay.
Just as a tip, Marty, if they're kind of caught through one semester to the next, use that checkbox that says adjust due dates whenever you're copying the course, because that'll allow you to shift those dates from. So when you change those beginning, Canvas will do its best job of shifting those. And so let's maybe you start a week later or a week earlier than the last fall. Canvas will adjust it so that all the weeks line up. Or if you're going from spring to fall, it does a pretty good job of that as well. So
yeah, so you don't have to spend an hour going through your whole course manually changing all the dates to the new dates.
You may have to do some because, fall to spring, there's different holidays and spring break and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, when you're doing fall to fall, it works perfectly. I do that all the time. Maybe I'll build a module that I like. Doesn't have to be the whole course, and I'll just copy that one module. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So one more thing. The main, one more main area or main topic I wanted to talk about today was copying a module and some of the dirty little tricks that we can use to manage our presentation of content to students. So here's week one. It's all done. If there's two ways that I could start week two. Okay, one way would be I can just start it from scratch. I can just do plus module and create a new module and give it a name and call it module 2 and then start building it out from scratch. Or I can copy things from module 1 and duplicate them in module 2 and then just edit them as needed. Or if my module 2 is going to be very, very similar to my module 1, I can just do this. I can go to module 1 and just say duplicate. I now have another module. I have module 2. Everything was exactly copied from module 1, and I just adjust the text and everything so that it's ready to go the way that I need it. So I might not have the same readings. I might delete them, add them in. Do notice that we have to change the name of the module because now it says week 1 topic copy. So we'll have to change it and call it week 2 new topic or whatever it is. And everything else is going to have to be adjusted similarly. Okay, it's also not published by default so that we can fix it before we publish it for the students. Okay, so let's talk about having requirements and prerequisites. So let's say you don't want the students to go to module 2 until you're ready for them to go to module 2 or until they are ready to go to module 2. Let's say you want them to complete certain things in module 1 first before they're allowed to go to module 2. Maybe you have an assignment at the end of module 1 that they have to submit. Maybe you have a quiz in module 1 that they have to score a 90% on before you want to allow them to go forward. How do you set it up to do that? Well, here's how we do that. First, we look at module 1 and we decide what are the things we're going to require them to do for module 1 to be complete. I don't have any assignments or quizzes yet, and we're going to cover that next week, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But just to make this practical, I'm going to add an assignment. So we'll cover that next week. In my module 1 header bar on my Magic Domino, I'm going to edit the settings for module 1. And I'm going to add requirements. Requirements are the things they have to do before I let them move on. So let's see, what are we going to make them do? Let's say I want them to view the overview and the to-do list. I want them to view the presentation, so view the item. I want them to look at this file, and I want them to, here's module 1 assignment, to submit the assignment. If they do those things, then I'm happy. Then they're allowed to go to module 2. So those are the requirements of the module, right? Then the second step, we go to module 2 and we go to our settings. We edit the settings and we add a prerequisite to module 2. Guess what the prerequisite is? Week 1. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, students cannot access week 2 until they're done with the prerequisite, which is week 1. And what do they have to do to complete week 1? It says complete all items. They have to view this, view this, view this, submit that assignment. Then they can go on to module 2. So one of my little dirty tricks as an instructor is I will put a 5-question quiz at the end of every module, and I will have the key concepts as true or false or multiple choice questions in that 5-question quiz. Then I will set that quiz to multiple attempts, unlimited attempts. Let them take that quiz as many times as they want. And then I'll add a requirement. Students cannot go to module 2 until they get a 5 out of 5 on the quiz. They're going to learn kicking and screaming sometimes, but they're going to learn. Or at least they're going to know what the right answers are to the quiz after they've taken it 14 times, one or the other. Okay. So that's a little bit about controlling access to what they can see in a module. Can you have an ending time on a video clip? No, not as far as Canvas is concerned. It doesn't set that. You'd have to get into coding a little bit. You'd have to know how to change the value of the embed code. Sam's already on that. Sorry, I get distracted. I read it and I get into it. One more thing about modules also is that if you don't want to go to all that trouble, if you want to have the module automatically unlock at a certain date and certain time, and I know some instructors like to do this, they like to set every single module as locked until 6 a.m. Monday morning. So they just go to every module and they say, okay, week 2 is locked until next Monday at 6 o'clock a.m. And then they don't have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to unlock it. It'll happen automatically. And then they set week 3 for the next, and then they set week 4 for the next. It's really up to you how much of your content you want to release to the students and how early. If you want to stay a week ahead of them, if you want them to see the whole course all at once, that's ultimately your decision. Okay.
Hey,
So
Marty, there was another question
Yeah.
in the chat, and it depends on each institution has a different answer. It was regarding cross-listing different sections.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. So cross-listing is really what it is it's a process of taking 2 Canvas courses and you tell one Canvas course, send all those students over to this section. So the 2 sections actually exist with each other side by side and they work together in the same Canvas course shell. All the students end up seeing the same discussions with each other. The teacher manages it just like it's one course. That is going to have to be something that's going to be a NAROPA decision about whether your courses can be cross-listed. And if they are cross-listed, what's the process for getting them cross-listed? So that's a question for Mary or for Yurka to help you determine. I don't know if Mary wants to chime in on that here and now, or if you want to take that separately. So. Yep, I would go with Mary or with Yurka. Now I can tell you my experience with other institutions. My experience is that you only can cross-list courses if they're cross-listed in the catalog and they're announced to students in advance that these are cross-listed courses. I have had instructors say, well, I teach 5 sections all week long of advanced basket weaving, and I just want to dump them all into one because I only want to configure one course. So can I just dump them all together and put them in one section? And that could be frowned upon a little bit. So let's go back to the end. Yep, Stephanie's, she's already there. She's, or somebody's got it. Sam had it. So how do you do requirements and prerequisites? It's in the magic domino on the right side of the module. We edit. So we edit a section to add requirements and then you edit the next section and you add a prerequisite. So you can see right here, if you see this small tiny print, it says my week 2, the prerequisite is week 1. If I edit this one, I can also add requirements to week 2 to say, well, to be done with week 2, what do they have to do? And then week 2 becomes a prerequisite for week 3. Okay. So, other questions. We had a couple different questions from this morning, which is great. I think, last week we already jumped ahead a little bit. We covered editing your navigation menu on the left, that you also control what the students see and can access there. So next week, we change the focus on to graded items, assignments, quizzes, etc. Will this in-depth training be available to adjunct faculty? Supervise several grad instructors, adjuncts. Seems like this training might be useful. Okay, how I would answer that is, as we're going along in this training, I'm adding page by page some of the things that we're covering here as a tutorial that breaks it down with shorter videos and PDFs, but I'm also putting the links to the Canvas trainings. So here was week 1, that was last Monday. I put the videos for both the morning and the afternoon session there. And we're going to do the same for week 2, somewhere at the end of the day. So this information should be available to adjuncts to be able to enroll in and to use as well. How do we work with real-time meetings such as on Zoom? Okay, that is not on the agenda as much for the Canvas training for the 4 weeks. I will talk to Yurka about putting together sort of that outline. I've certainly done Zoom training before, how we use Zoom within Canvas and best practices and doing real-time meetings, and that can be just as in-depth, honestly, as doing these Canvas meetings. So I don't have a quick answer for you for that. When Yurka maybe is back, I know he's on vacation right now, we'll talk about what our Zoom plan or training for Zoom plan is going to look like so that we can give you a good answer for that. Thank you. Mary says distance learning is providing similar training for adjunct faculty. They are family too, right? And more with Zoom. So there you go. Okay, so as you're working this week, going forward, start working with your content, populating your content. Make sure you're posting your questions in the question forum here in Canvas. And Sam and I will be doing our best to stay on top of that, answering your questions as they come up. And we will have a blazing session next week as we dive into assignments, quizzes, and discussion forums a little bit more. All right. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Sam.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. See you next